What if your whole life played in reverse? From your last breath back to your first dance? What if the world ended? Because you did. Meet Chuck Krantz, just a guy, works in finance, loves jazz, dies, just like the rest of us. But before the lights go out, he leaves behind something extraordinary. A reminder. The life isn't about how long you live. It's about what you do with the time between the music. Directed by Mike Flanagan, from the mind of Stephen King. But this time, the only thing haunting you is your own heart. There's no villain, no monster, just a man and the moments in between the music. The life of Chuck. You only get one ending, so you might as well make the middle count.
Nice.
Welcome to the Burnt or Buttered podcast,
where we are going to be talking about
The Life of Chuck.
And if you haven't heard about this movie,
Neither had we.
You're probably like everybody else.
Yeah.
Every review that I watched after seeing this movie, every single one of them was like, I went into this movie knowing nothing about this movie. And that's exactly what we did.
And now we're going to tell you, we went into this movie knowing nothing about this movie.
Never even saw a trailer. Not true. I saw one trailer, but it didn't tell me anything. They did the trailer right.
They did it right.
We have to talk about that. We have to talk about trailers nowadays. Like every single time we go to the movie, we are seeing 4 or 5 full movies in a trailer, and it is pissing me off.
Let me just say one thing real quick. The stories that they're trying to tell these days are outrageous.
Outrageous.
And they're telling them in these 1 to 2 minute trailers. They're telling the whole movie. They're showing you all the critical scenes, all the character development in this 1 to 2 minute trailer.
1 to 2 minute trailer. We saw a trailer about a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it's about walking. And it's a contest where a bunch of these boys are being followed, or they are following like a military guys. And the whole thing is that they can't stop walking.
You have to be the last person walking.
Last one walking. And the trailer goes on and on and on until we see the last 3 people that are walking. Why do I have to see
several deaths, or insinuated several deaths,
multiple deaths, and you're just like, why do I even have to watch this movie when I know the last 3 people that are standing? Unless in this movie that happens within the first 15 minutes, I don't want to watch it anymore. Like it's like watching. They're doing it in TV nowadays as well, where you watch the first episode and then they give you flashes of the entire season. Mm-hmm. I was like, I watch Survivor because I don't know who's going to be at the end. Don't show me who's going to be at the end.
Yeah. I don't want to know the whole movie. I just want to know a premise,
I want to have questions.
Yeah.
You're taking away all the questions I have, but then you have on the opposite side of that, you have awesome trailers like the Him trailer. And it's so interesting and so crazy that I'm like, I kind of don't want to see the movie because the movie's probably not going to live up to that trailer. That trailer's so intense and so interesting. I'm like, there's no way this movie's going to be that interesting.
I don't know if I've seen that. I try not to see trailers so that I am surprised when I go to.
He's just late, but he's trying not to see the trailers.
It works out for me because then I go into these things blind and I can just have an authentic reaction.
You want to know how blind Toast was in this movie? He didn't even make it for the first 10 minutes.
Hey, I told you I might be late.
Chuck.
I told you it was tight. I left my art class early.
And he missed some integral moments. If you've seen this movie, he missed the Pornhub talk.
Yeah, apparently I missed the part where they say that you can't access your pornography anymore. But I feel like we could have inferred that just by the fact that the internet was down.
It was a very poignant talk because he's doing parent-teacher conferences, and all the parents are like, "Why are we even doing this? The world's about to end."
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid. We have bigger problems than
It's a good question.
Sally not answering 5 + 5 = 10.
Yeah, she's probably looking out the window watching stars disappear or something.
Yeah. But back to life of Chuck. There's a lot to talk about with this thing.
There is. And one of the things you touched on is you want to have questions. And this movie starts you out with questions. You go into this and Chuck is not introduced, you know?
Who is freaking Chuck? Like, for the
Who
first
is Chuck
35 minutes, who is Chuck?
Who is Chuck Krantz?
Krantz.
And that really reminded me of who is John Galt in Atlas Shrugged. You know, going back to my college days when I read that, I kept on trying to figure out what this movie was.
Yeah, it's confusing at the beginning. You're just like, I thought I saw dancing.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw this guy being all jolly and all over. Like, when is this guy going to show up on the world is ending? When is this jolly guy going to show up?
How's he going to change this world and save everybody? You know, what's so important about Chuck Krantz? And so I kept on running my head through what is this going to be? Is this going to be the new Atlas Shrugged? Is this going to be the new Don't Look Up? You know?
Yeah.
Because then they started touching on, all these natural disasters are happening because of climate change. And then another person said, no, it's because the world's moving slower. And super interesting. I mean,
the first act, which is actually the third act, because we're seeing this in reverse, this movie in reverse, was, I think, just amazing. I mean, perfect. And the way there's all these questions, there's all this intrigue, there's such poignant dialogue that makes you think and ponder on things, and it gives you space to ponder.
Yeah.
It's so deep because everything that's happening is really important to the people that are living in this world. But they're also living in a state of delusion, but also a state of hope, but also a state of sadness and grief. And there's all these different types of personalities trying to comprehend that this world is ending.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, there were so many really deep topics discussed, and that's the type of thing that's cool about both Mike Flanagan and Stephen King. Even though a lot of the dialogue comes directly from the Stephen King novella, it felt very Mike Flanagan. If you're familiar with his work, it felt like his,
Well, he did Sleep Doctor, which was a Dr. Sleep, which is a Stephen King adaptation as well. And so I think that they both just understand each other's minds.
Yeah. And because of that one, Stephen King likes working with Mike Flanagan.
Yeah. And this one worked. I mean, the story was so interesting and captivating in the way that these conversations are going so much farther than the everyday, because what's the point of a small talk at this point? Why would we even have a conversation if there wasn't something more to talking?
Right.
And you see it in the main character. I can't remember his name, Marty, I think. You see him go through the acknowledgement that it is actually ending, that we need to stop acting like this is normal.
Yeah.
We need to stop acting like this is going to return back to anything that's important. And the conversation that he has on the phone is life-changing, I feel like, in the way of looking at time and how minuscule our lives are, but at the same time, how infinite they are. That was one thing that I took away from this movie, is that something can be infinitely small, but at the same time, infinitely big when it comes to the world and the universe and everything else. Like the people inside of his mind in Act 3 were in a whole world of understanding and a whole world of they lived an entire life in this made up world that was their own, but was
and
inside
to each
somebody
of them,
else.
It was significant.
Oh yeah.
And it was real and it meant something, you know? Yeah, it's interesting. Like talking about things that can be big and small, you know, that scar that he had on his hand when he revealed that he had lied about it, you know, and he couldn't explain why he lied about it other than that it meant something bigger than what it actually was. So he made it into something bigger than it actually was. And I feel like we all do that when we're like creating our own legends, you know, at least I embellish things sometimes, you know.
Of course. Yeah. Like, because we want to, I feel like one of my earliest memories is laying in bed and wondering if I'm going to be forgotten. Like I'm thinking, I'm probably like 9 years old, and I'm just thinking about all these people that I've heard about, like read in books and different things. I'm like, these people were worth remembering. We wrote their name down and we're still talking about them today. And me laying in bed thinking, will I ever be remembered? You know, like what's the point of remembering me when I die? And I think like in that, we all are the creators of our own world, and each one of us creates what it means to be us. And you can't be me, I can't be you. And each one of them is important. And it's interesting, the idea that like we contain multitudes, because in our mind, the reality that is our own is only our own.
Yeah.
Like your reality of every person that you've ever met is only yours.
It's unique.
Yeah. And those people aren't what you think they are.
Right.
And even ourselves, we lie to ourselves about who we are in relation to what's actually true reality.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot as well, of like, if you meet somebody one time, forever in their mind, you will only be that one person that they meet.
That one interaction. Yeah. That's your entire persona, is that one interaction.
Yep.
Which is great for people who make good first impressions. For me, not so great a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting in the idea of like, you know, this world being deleted when Chuck dies, all those people that we meet in our life, those one interactions, and those people die with us. You know, that version of them.
Yeah.
There's this thought that every friend that you make kind of stays the age in your mind of when you met them. Which I think it's oddly true. It's in adulthood. You know, like you meet someone and you're 25 and they're 30. Like they will always be 30 in your mind.
And they'll always seem so much older than you.
Yeah. And it never changes. However old they get, wherever you met them at is kind of the feeling that you have with that person. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, like I was just thinking about how everybody in that third act was the exact same age that Chuck actually saw them. You know, even though there had been so much time that had passed, they were still exactly, they didn't have to age them up or anything, you know?
Well, what I thought was interesting as well is the people in Chuck's mind and world weren't the most important people in his life.
Yeah.
But they embodied the characteristics and the ideals of the most important people in his life. But they weren't the same person.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see like how those people and those characteristics and ideals transferred into the individuals that were there.
Yeah.
And why I like it, it makes me ask the question, like, why did that person end up becoming that individual?
Yeah. My immediate thought is just that when your brain creates things, you know, it's drawing from things that you've experienced. So it's going to create characters based on your own philosophies that you've pulled from other people and whatnot.
And like on the same idea of that though, why wouldn't they just be those people? Because I guess you couldn't embody those people perfectly in your mind.
Because to a certain point, you know, all those people had died, right? And so they've been severed in his head to where they can't, you know, they're not going to continue giving him advice. But these people that he doesn't have any contact with, you know, that his brain makes up, maybe.
Yeah. Well, in that, thinking about the third act inside of his head, like how much interaction does Chuck have with that world?
Yeah.
You know, like other than being an observer, because no one knew Chuck.
Right.
No one knew who he didn't walk around in that world. He just created it.
Yeah.
You know, but somehow the world acknowledged the creator of it being Chuck.
I was thinking that it was like a dream that he was having on his deathbed. And then he kept on, or like the last words that he heard were 39 great years. Thanks, Chuck.
Oh.
And so then that was like echoing in his head. And I kind of think that whole Carl Sagan thing about like being in the last millisecond of the last day of the last year, you know, I kind of think that all of this was happening in a split second in his head. You know, like when you dream, a lot of times they say that it's not this like 4-hour thing. It's just like a couple of seconds or whatever, but your brain fills in all the gaps and makes it feel like it was a long thing.
Well, it's just like someone that does like a DMT trip or something like that, where in reality it's 2 minutes, but to them it was like a week of like being gone. Yeah. Or whatever it might be.
Which when you die, that same chemical is released in your brain, right?
Yeah.
So this is his deathbed trip.
That's an interesting idea and thought as well, is like, were all 3 acts happening while he was in the deathbed? You know, so like in his mind, you know, the multitude
He was playing it back.
The multitude was dying of it, whatever. And then he was also reliving those most important memories that made him who he was. You know, so he's about to die in the last second of the last day or whatever. And him seeing all these choices that I made to actually live, to not just go day by day and moment by moment, but he'll live in the moment and soak up everything that it is just because it is. Not necessarily even creating moments, but just recognizing when moments are happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really think about it that way in the movie, but it could be that way.
There's a lot of things this movie could be.
But yeah, the only caveat to that is the room.
Yeah.
It's like, how does the room play into the entire movie other than him acknowledging that he's going to die and acknowledging that he is going to be more than just a death? Do you think that's the only reason for the room?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that all of us throughout our lives have those integral moments, or like those, what are the kids calling it these days? Like core memories, you know? We all have those. And I think that his grandpa's semi-psychosis, or his ability to see the future in that room, was traumatizing for him. And so that was always like in the back of his head, was that room, you know, even though he went in there himself, he acknowledged it, and he chose to live differently than his grandpa. I still think that it's always in his head. Like, you know, like we all know that we're going to die, but it's not at the forefront, right?
Well, you know, the whole point of his grandpa was, and the echo through like the different acts was that the waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Which the first time that that's introduced is from the neighbor that's kind of gossipy talking to him on his car after he walked back from being stuck in
3
traffic.
miles,
Whatever.
yeah.
And yeah, he's just talking about how we all know that the world is ending. We just don't know when it's going to end, and the waiting's the hardest part. And then that translates to his phone call with the girl, acknowledging that, yes, it's going to end, but maybe it ends in 1,000 years, or maybe it ends in a millisecond from now. Like, all that we know is that we're living in the last millisecond, the last second, the last minute of the entire time span of the universe that's, spanning over a calendar year. Yet we think that we're like really special.
Uh-huh.
Like all these things have happened. And then I think it talks about like, why are we more important than the extinction of dinosaurs? Like, how are we more important than them? I don't know. Did they talk about that?
I feel like it was kind of insinuated maybe because they were here longer than us.
Yeah. It was just like, we think that we shouldn't go extinct, but yet the dinosaurs and every other like life form before us had gone through an extinction.
Yeah.
And, like,
and
what
we're
makes
just
us
a blip, essentially.
Like, what makes us more special than them, other than
opposable thumbs, consciousness.
Yeah.
Some of those things might make us worse than them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It also like brought up the idea that we didn't treat the world the best, but what we did didn't end the world.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing, because they initially started talking about climate change being the reason for all of this happening, which was interesting. I was like, oh man, no right winger is going to like this movie. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, nah, this is bigger than that. This is like a God thing. And I was like, okay, the right winger is back.
Well, and they talked about just math, and that was the whole thing, is that he's like, hey, I've done the math and our day got longer, which means our Earth started rotating slower, which has consequences to rotating slower, which math is beautiful and creative and everything else, but it can't lie.
Math don't lie.
Unless it does.
Which 3-body problem. That's the problem. It's the math's lying.
Yeah. I think there's been times in our history that we've been wrong with the math.
Oh, yeah. Numerous times.
So sometimes it does lie. Or maybe it's not the math. It's just that we don't understand how to read the math.
Yeah. Yeah. We are a blip still, It's amazing that we've done as much as we have in this short period of time, but we're still learning as a species, and hopefully we have enough time to reach the top of that hierarchy of needs.
Maybe, or just go to Mars. I think with this movie, it also made me think, which reality would it be better to live in? Would it be better to be in the world of the third act inside of his head and live inside that world? Because everything inside that world was created around kind of the good stuff that he experienced in his life. Mm-hmm. Or would it be better to live inside of the world that we think is real? That outside of his head. And how do we know that what we're living right now, which one are we in? Are we in the real world that we think is real? Or are we just a creation inside of someone else's creation?
Now we're getting into some Matrix stuff here. I think if you're having those questions, it's best to see a professional.
I just think that is something worth thinking about, and the idea of what does it mean to be real? You know, it brings me back to Love Me. Love Me was an influential movie this year for me. And who's to say that the world that they created as entities is any less real than the world that we live in right now?
Do you think Love Me has a tie-in to Mission Impossible Final Reckoning?
I think Love Me is just like the end of Life is Chuck. Like everything's like exploding, and Love Me is like one of those worlds that's just like blipping.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I don't know. I don't know that we have the answer. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, as AI gets more and more advanced, and we look at reality as something that can kind of be blurred, especially when we get into the idea of like Neuralink and integrating like into technology and the idea of what's real and what's not. It's going to become pretty freaking fuzzy on which reality you're living in and what one is truly real. And who's to say that one isn't more real than the other? That's what's going to be a very interesting question that's has to be answered in the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy time. Lots of philosophical questions to think about here.
Mm-hmm. Especially when we can capture our essence of whatever works inside of our heads that makes us, makes us think, makes us tick. Like once we can take that and then put it into something that's physical, then you're real inside of something that's not real.
Right. And then you can live forever.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
And yeah. Did you ever see Upload?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that idea.
Right.
Yeah, and then you just are living inside of a virtual world that you have to pay credits
with
to.
Paywalls. Yeah.
And your family never dies if you're rich enough.
Yeah. It is crazy. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's something that I'm sure in the next, maybe even in our lifetime, we'll have to confront those sort of issues. Like,
I think it's going to be very quickly that we are deciding what rights AI has.
Yeah. Did you ever see Altered Carbon?
Yeah. There we go.
Live forever.
Well, let's give this one a rating unless you have anything else you want to freaking dive into.
I just feel like this movie feels like it's such a mystery at first, and it feels like it's going to be a horror or, something different than it is. And then each act reveals something different. Mm-hmm. And there's so many tie-ins with so many other like movies or schools of thought or, ideas that it just makes it so interesting.
Well, each act is like saying the same thing each time.
Yeah.
Just in a completely different way.
And emphasizing different things more than others,
Mm-hmm. And the cinematography of this film is so influential to the moments. Like there's crazy static pushes that are just like so soft and like meaningful that you just get sucked into the dialogue so much. And that throughout the entire movie, I was thinking that this dialogue is just next level. Like this script is so good. And it makes sense that they took a lot of the dialogue from Stephen King.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so poignant and deep and thoughtful that you have to acknowledge it as you're watching.
And, now that we're talking about the cinematography, the performances, each actor, I feel like there wasn't anybody who was miscast. Like everybody did great. Everybody felt raw and real.
Yeah, there was even just the supporting actors, like the woman that was walking from her vehicle that he goes up and he's, hey, you work at that bank.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
Chuck? And then she goes into an emotional monologue that is deep. I don't know the actor's name, but the neighbor. There's such a roller coaster of him trying to be a positive, person and optimistic person into him breaking down and crying of the reality of the situation that he doesn't really want to acknowledge, that he just kind of wants to act like isn't going to be real.
He kind of goes through like multiple stages of grief in that conversation, which is interesting to see.
And then he acknowledges like we're all on the final stage of grief. Like we all just have accepted that this is happening.
Yeah.
And what's the point of fighting it?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
But that also leads Marty, to make a decision to actually take a chance on
for it.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff.
Tom Hiddleston, that's how you say his name, right?
Hiddleston, yeah.
Hiddleston. I thought he did good, but also I thought he was the most annoying part of the movie. Chuck was... I like Chuck. I liked young Chuck a lot. I thought the actor that played young Chuck did a crazy good job. But yeah, the second act with Tom Hiddleston and the dancing and everything else was kind of the most annoying part of this movie for me.
I felt like that was like a cool moment for me because it was just like they had given that, or Ron Swanson was given that whole narration about how thinking is the enemy and you just got to do, and then that's what she's thinking about. And then she sees this guy who just starts doing.
And she had prejudged him.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I'm gonna kind of clown this guy as he walks by by,
a little bit of cowbell,
making the sound of what he looks like. And then he acknowledged that she was acknowledging him with the music and then decided to like make something out of it. Like surprise her. Yeah.
Which I felt like it was a cool moment, when he's also feeling his self-doubt of like, do I still relate to people? Am I just a numbers guy? If I got too into this. But yeah, I thought it was a cool moment. I didn't find him too annoying. I actually liked him more in this than a lot of things that I've seen him in.
You don't like him as Loki?
I feel like Loki's supposed to be an annoying character.
Yeah, which I feel like he just gives off that vibe to me.
Yeah.
Like as an actor.
Well, and I didn't watch the Loki series.
Oh.
So I feel like he was still fresh for me. Haven't seen him in years.
All right. Well, what are you going to give this one? What rating are you going to give it?
I had a lot of fun with this one. Like I said, there was that mystery in the beginning of who is Chuck Krantz. And then there were a lot of like heartwarming moments amidst all the tragedy. And it was kind of interesting to see how no matter how bad things get, you can always find good. At least that's what I took away from it in part. So I think it was a fun movie. I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it would be interesting for everybody. I'm going to give it a 4.25.
4.25. I like it. I think for me, what I took away from this movie wasn't like, what did you say about the last thing that you took away?
One of the things I took away was just that no matter how bad things get, there's still things that can be good.
What I took away from it was that it's always the people that matter. Not necessarily like what's happening, but it's the people that make life worth living and the moments with people, connection with people. That's what I got from it, of like all these things from his life that meant so much that ended up in the third act were moments that he had with individuals that changed his life.
Right.
And so with that, going to think about who are those people in my life that are going to make those moments, those like core memories that are going to influence me. But I like this one a lot. I think that to me, there's something in this for everybody. If you go into it with an open mind, and even if you don't go into it with an open mind, if you just listen to the dialogue, you're going to be touched by something. It's going to make you think about something a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I think that it's an easier watch than Love Me in a way that it just kind of flows. It is a little bit longer still, but it flows really well, and then it leaves you, it goes quick enough that you're not waiting for stuff to happen. When I was watching the movie at the end of the third act, I was like, this movie could end right now and I would be satisfied. Like that was so good that I could not watch another minute and think that this movie was great. And so with that, I'm going to have to give this a 4.8.
Whoa.
I think there's not a lot that was wrong with this movie. The cinematography was good. The color grade looked amazing. The performances were great. The script was solid.
Yeah.
The story made you ponder and wonder about life. It makes you think and talk about it for a while after you see the movie. It stays with you.
How long were we outside the theater yesterday?
Probably at least an hour.
At least.
Talking about specifically just this movie, like not even extra things.
I feel like we didn't even get off topic. Like every time that there was a pause, like somebody would pick it up with something else.
And with that, I think that is, to me, the quintessential sign of a great film.
Yeah.
That it carries so much weight that it continues on for multiple days, that you're thinking about it for multiple days.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, almost touching that 5 for me.
Pretty close. Yeah. On Letterboxd, my one line review was, it left me wanting more in the best ways. Like this was one that I feel like I could have watched it for longer, or I wanted more, but
yeah,
but I'm glad that they didn't, because then you get to leave with that feeling versus feeling like they overdid it.
They left enough open for you to interpret it the way that you want to interpret it.
Yeah.
Which most movies can't do that. And maybe it's because it came from the mind of Stephen King, that it was able to have that nuance that most stories don't.
When Mike Flanagan does a really good job of that in like The Haunting of Hill House and a lot of the horror stuff that he does, it was cool to see him tackle something not horror related.
Yeah. He definitely understands people, understands like arcs of emotion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was really poignant to me is every single monologue, there is a roller coaster of emotions that each character is going through of happiness, sadness, grief, love, loss, like whatever it might be. And you even see it inside of young Chuck's grandparents when their son and daughter-in-law and future granddaughter die.
Yeah. That
they go through that valley of despair into trying to figure out how to continue life past that point.
Yeah.
There's just so much that like lessons that are taught in this film that make it different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely different, unique, and very interesting. I would say worth watching.
You should see it. It's one where you see the poster and you're like, "What the freak is that? Is this
La La Land 2 or something?"
Or was it Walter
Walter Mitty. It did kind of have that feel to it too. Huh?
The poster had that feel.
I feel like even during the movie, parts of it, I was like, is this Walter Mitty?
Yeah, it kind of felt similar for sure. All right. Well, let us know what you thought. Like this discussion review, we're kind of not calling these reviews anymore.
Yeah.
Because we are reviewing the movie, but we're discussing the movie. And I think that it's a better word for what we're doing as far as this podcast, because I don't want people to click on it thinking we're just giving them an overview and a quick rating. Because I feel like they're going to be like, you guys just explain the whole movie to me.
Yeah, it's more just talking about, the things we like, didn't like, and we want to hear from you guys too. Mm-hmm. We want to hear the things that you liked and didn't like, both about the movie and about the episode. Mm-hmm. Things that you thought were interesting. And yeah.
Yep. All right. And this is a good movie to do it because there's so many ways to think about every aspect of this movie. So let us know what you noticed that we didn't talk about that was super influential from this movie, because there's so much more that you could dive into. Yeah, if you've made it this far, you should definitely take the moment to do a comment.
If you've made it this far and you haven't watched this movie, then I don't know what you're doing here, but let us know in the comments.
Yeah, if you made it this far and you haven't seen Life of Chuck, you have to see Life of Chuck at this time. It's probably streaming or something, just go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it.
You're 30 minutes into an episode of a movie that you haven't seen, and we're telling you to go see it.
Go see it.
Just go see it.
What are you doing?
Go see it already. We'll see you in the next one.